Hi there, this video is in response to a request from a friend who is a nursery teacher in England. So normally my videos are aimed at helping people who are teaching English to children or adults in Spain or in another foreign country outside of the English speaking country, so it's English as a second language. This particular situation, the teacher would like me to help with a Spanish child who is in the English nursery. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to go over to try and explain the situation, the needs of the family and the needs of this child specifically. So the first and foremost important thing is that families and parents want their children in Spain, Spanish families and parents want their children to learn English. It's really, really important to them. So going to England, having the opportunity to put your child into an English school is the optimum. So what they're expecting is the child to learn English. They're not expecting them to be spoken to in Spanish, which is cool. Then so it's not just the language issues that can cause problems. Me, having come here and living here in Spain, I've found some difficulties with things like the daily routine. So for example, Spanish families are used to having a sleep during the day and then they would be up very, very late at night. So for what for us is very, very late at night. So for example, it's quite normal to I put my children who are 6 and 7 years old, I put them to bed at 9 o'clock. I think that would be seen as quite late in England. Some families put their children of that age to bed even later, which in England is just crazy. So you can be getting children who are trying to live a Spanish routine at home, and then they're going to an English school which has a different system, and you might find that the children are particularly tired, and that the Spanish child is particularly tired because of this routine that they have at home. Meal times also are different. It's not just the times. For example, they would have breakfast, they would have like maybe milk and some biscuits, but like kind of rich tea biscuits in the morning, and then mid-morning they have another breakfast or a snack, and then lunchtime they have lunch quite late, so maybe 2:30 even for a family, 2:30 to 5 even they would have their lunch, and then their dinner would be really late. What for us would be like a midnight snack, maybe at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock they have their dinner. So you have to take into account that kind of routine for a Spanish child as well. Also, the actual food is quite different. They have a lot of pork in their food. They obviously have Spanish omelette, and the way that it's served. So you might find that a child is particularly fussy, that they don't want the things together on their plate, and that's reinforced at home because they often have a first course, a second course, and then a main course, and then a dessert with every meal. For them, that's completely normal. For us, it's kind of like Sunday dinner. We might do that, but so just bear in mind that what the child is getting at home is probably different to what they're experiencing in the nursery situation. Then you might find with the language there are some issues. I mean, if the child doesn't speak any English yet, or very limited English, you might find that the way that they construct their sentences is a little bit strange. For example, in Spain, if you want someone to pass you something, you would just say dame, which is give me, give it to me. They don't really in the Spanish language use the please and the thank you as much as we do in English. So you can see a child as being rude, and you can think, oh my goodness, that child is really not got any manners. but it as their first language. It doesn't. These kind of please and thank yous don't exist in their language. It's not natural for them, so they need to be extra reinforced with English. Another one, to go to the toilet, go for a wee, or go for a pee. In Spanish, they say hacer pis. So the word pis, pis, pis in Spanish is completely normal. That's like saying pee, pee, pee in English. So if your Spanish child is saying piss, 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 it's not the swear word that it is in English. It's just what they say at home and in Spain. So that one can be a bit worrying initially. Then I was thinking of some other things, like for example, as children get more expressive with the language. My children, who are 6 and 7, they make mistakes. For example, to turn the tap on, they say open the tap, or open the water. Sometimes they say, because in Spanish they use the word which means open, and when they're talking about the tap. So you could get some strange kind of language mistakes, but it's just because they're translating from their first language. Also, maybe more dealing with the parents, but if they're saying two, they say two like this. And in England and in Ireland, this is not a good thing to do, and you get shocked. And so just often I say to my students who are in Spain, like, you can't do this, you've got to do this or this or this or whatever, because when you're saying two like this, to me that's offensive, but they don't know that initially. There's no way they can know that. So again, with parents and even the children, just be aware of that it's not, they're not doing it on purpose. The same with the piss thing, they're not doing it on purpose. And it's not because they've been taught bad language at home, it's just a different language altogether. Then I thought maybe you would want some, maybe if you've got a student or a child who completely doesn't say anything in English and they're saying things in Spanish, I can give you a quick top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the really, really fundamental things that a child might say that would be really important to you. So when they finished, they say "He terminado," which is I have finished. "He terminado." You get that kind of whiny voice as well with Spanish children, which is a different whiny voice to an English whiny voice. Tengo pis or tengo caca means that I need to go to the bathroom. Pis is pee and caca is poo. Tengo pis, tengo caca. If they're like saying that they've got an owl or they've hurt themselves, they would say tengo pupa, pupa, pupa. So if you hear these words, this is what they mean. No quiero is I don't want to. No quiero, I don't want to. And quiero, and then the thing, for example, quiero agua, is I would like some water. Top 5, really basics. But in general, even in Spanish schools now, they're expected to know how to say these things from 2 or 3 years old. They're expected to know how to say them in English anyway, so it's not a lot to ask, just to help out if you're really struggling. Okay, so how can you help? How can you help out? Well, the main things are with pronunciation and accents. So the problem with the Spanish accent is the H, for example. They don't pronounce the H in Spanish. So they kind of try and pronounce it like a J, like the Spanish J sound, which is like hello, how are you? So the hello is the H sound. You have to help them. Maybe try and explain that it's like a dog panting, to help them get the idea of the lack of gravelly sound going on in the throat there. Gently prompting the child to repeat that correctly. And then just general vocabulary and vocalization, actually saying words. The only thing that I can suggest is that instead of using closed questions that they would repeat, they would answer either yes or no. Try and have as many questions as you can that have got 2 options initially. So for example, do you want the crayons or the puzzle? Crayons or the puzzle? And they have to say either crayons or puzzle. So at least try and get some vocabulary out of them, get some words out of them that way, if you're having problems getting the child to speak. Because I'm sure you'll find that they understand a lot more than they speak. So that's about it. Quick recap. Basically, the routine is completely different in Spain. The food is completely different. It's a big shock to the system to, not just for the language reasons, to go to England and live in a different country. So a little bit of patience, and that's all I can say. Okay, thank you. Bye.